What is up, everyone, and welcome back to Box to Box. My name is Harry Hicks, and I am joined by Max Blatcher. Max, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Missing out on Tommy this week. He's out on PTO from Box to Box, so I guess
Yeah,
he's enjoying some
yeah,
time
we'll let
off.
it slide, Tom.
Yeah,
Hope it's going okay, but
get ready to grind.
I think we can keep the heat up, Max. I think we'll be all right.
Exactly. I think we'll be fine.
We won't have we won't have quite the we don't have the nice stats, but I think we can cover some of the other bases, which is okay with me. Max, it was kind of funny. I was thinking about this week's podcast. I was like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Obviously, the season just ended, or most of the seasons ended. But looking at my notes here, I have a shit ton of stuff to talk about. So
Let's do it.
I think we'll be all good. Yeah, you want to start off? Just did you watch some of those games on Sunday? I guess it was the last day of the Premier League.
Did I watch? Of course. Of course.
My bad. I don't know, Mr. Bundesliga.
I know. Well, no Bundesliga this weekend, so what else am I gonna do? But
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, I had the City Aston Villa game on, and then I had the Liverpool game on. God, who are they playing again?
Wolves.
Yeah, Liverpool Wolves, and so that was just a crazy 2 hours. It was literally a crazy 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just concentrating on City for a moment. City going down 1-0 and then going down 2-0 with Coutinho scoring the goal.
Dude,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
too good to be true. It was too good to be true.
I thought that was it. I
Um,
was like, this is like
Dude, that
storybook.
Coutinho goal was actually so nice too.
Oh, yeah, the first touch, ball over the top, first touch, cut inside, and then short corner. Perfect.
Yeah, no, that's pretty special. Yeah, I was watching the Man City game as well on the TV. Then I had Chelsea and Watford on my iPad, and then on my phone I had Leeds versus Brentford going on. So I tried to catch all of the action that I wanted to see. But yeah, definitely that City Villa game was a highlight. And actually, the unfortunate swing of my Sunday afternoon was I was watching the City game. I saw Coutinho score. I saw Liverpool was tied 1-1, so I switched to the Liverpool game to see if they were going to score a goal. And then I saw you text me saying, "Oh, City scored 1, City scored 2. Oh, they scored a third."
It was like
And I was like, "Damn, I just changed the channel."
it was crazy. I mean, for a moment when it was when City was down and they were playing at home too, right? Like that's crazy that they were even
Yeah.
down at home, and the stress that the fans and the players and Pep were going through were probably crazy. But I was like 1-1 for Liverpool. Like, are they really gonna blow this? Like, I was like,
I know.
are they gonna blow this and not get a win here? But yeah, I mean, Liverpool ended up winning. But City's comeback was probably one of the
Good
best.
one.
I don't want to
That
say
was
the
a
best
send-off.
comeback ever, but like one of the best comebacks I've seen for a league game. Last match day, you know.
Right. Right.
But yeah, Rodri, that
Dude.
inside the foot, just pass it into the net, goal.
Yeah, dude, Rodri is such like an interesting player because I never think of him as like one of Man City's best players, but I think he has to definitely be talked about there. I don't think he has like the technical abilities of some guys like Bernardo Silva and Mahrez and whatnot, and he doesn't really have that range of passing like De Bruyne or the goal scoring that De Bruyne gets, but he really comes up big in big moments. That goal he had was huge, and then also I saw a lot of like tweets about that one block he had against Fabinho in that Liverpool game. That was just huge,
Yeah.
and played a part in them winning the league.
Yeah, and that saved them that point. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think about it, he's up there. If not, I see people talk about Rodri all the time being the best CDM in the world, honestly. And CDMs, it's an interesting position just because they don't always show up on the stat sheet just with goals or even assists oftentimes. But I mean, he's definitely up there. Rodri, Casemiro, back in the day, Sergio Busquets, like these guys don't show up on the stat sheet, but when you watch them play on the field, the impact that they have on the game is huge. So yeah, I mean, he was one of the best players. And then Gundogan also, too, coming on and scoring too.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, he's kind of been a little bit out of favor recently too, so always good to see him get such a big moment. Seems like he could leave also, so what better way to finish off your career at Man City then with a 2 goal or part of that comeback with 2 goals. Yeah, so that was pretty impressive. Also, we can talk briefly on Leeds. Shame to see Burnley go down. I think there's some real trouble going on at Burnley. I saw a side note, but I did see that they're rumored to get Vincent Company as their coach, which would be kind of interesting. But I think there's some real trouble there financially. I know they had to take out a loan that now has to be repaid since they didn't stay up in the league. So I think that's kind of a very tricky situation there. So I would not want to be involved over on that end. But as far as Leeds go, it was pretty big for Jesse Marsch, an American coach. Kind of cool to see him. I don't know if you want to call it succeeding, but not failing maybe is a better way to phrase that. So I thought that was pretty nice to see them. Fun to see Rafinha celebrating in the stands. So good for Leeds also as well. Definitely a big day for them. I did see that they've been linked with Brendan Aronson, which would be kind of cool to see another American in the Premier League. He's a pretty exciting player, but I really never get to watch him just because I'm never watching Salzburg. So it'll be fun to have him in the Premier League if that transfer does go through.
Yeah, I would guess he would be one of the highest. Pulisic is the other one, obviously, and Gio Reyna also in the future, but he would probably be one of the highest transfer fees for an American paid ever. I don't know what range that would be, in the 40s.
McKennie maybe somewhere. I don't know about that much. Maybe 30 or 40. I don't really know his value if I'm being honest, but
the only time
we'll see.
Yeah, the only time I did see him was in the Champions League when Salzburg played Bayern, and I thought he was Salzburg's best player, honestly. And
I agree.
Salzburg,
he's very explosive.
He's so explosive, and he can push the ball forward so much. And Salzburg scared Bayern in the first leg, But yeah, I'm super glad Leeds is staying up. That just would have been one of the worst years for Jesse Marsch ever. The Leipzig stint, and then going to Leeds, and then going down if they got relegated. That would have been a year to forget for him.
No, I agree. Actually, shout out Tom on that one. Tom predicted at the beginning of the year that Leeds were going to go down. So that's and they finished, 10th or something, mid-table definitely last season. So good call on that one, Tommy. And then last connection kind of between these two topics with Leeds and Man City both being talked about. Obviously, Fernandinho is on his way out, played his last game with Man City. And I've seen Calvin Phillips from Leeds being linked as kind of his replacement, which would seemingly get Leeds a pretty big fee. Calvin Phillips is obviously a pretty talented player. We've talked about those CDMs, how they're important positions and kind of hard to come by, honestly. So that seems like a pretty good replacement. Probably Leeds could get a pretty good fee for him. So
definitely. And he's kind of like a bruiser type of player too. I remember in the Euro seeing him play for England oftentimes. He'd be a starter, on that team.
Yeah. Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips are the kind of starting duo in there.
Yeah. So that'd be really big. There are so many transfers to look forward to this summer, and I'm sure we're gonna jump into so many of these right now. But yeah, so many.
Yeah, I think actually no, I do want to talk about transfers, and I think we can kind of hone in on Chelsea and Bayern since we know more about them. Before we do that, though, quick, I want to talk about that Europa Conference League final today between Feyenoord and Roma, and I don't know, it was pretty fun to see Roma get a trophy. I think that was their first European title in 30 years. So fun to see Jose get it on his first year in there. Nice to see Tammy getting another trophy. I like to see that. So that was fun. The game itself, I'll admit, was a little bland. Not sure if you watched that one, but fun to see Mourinho and Abraham both getting another trophy.
It's huge. 27 goals for Tammy this year. Cap it off with the trophy. And I saw Mourinho, 5 European finals, 5 wins. And the last 4 of them have been clean sheets.
Really?
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So just Mourinho masterclass.
Probably 1-0 every time.
Yeah, probably 1-0 or 2-0 or something. But Mourinho, first coach ever. Obviously, this is the first year of the European Conference League. and he won it. But he's the only only coach, to win all three: Champions
All
League,
three.
European, and European Conference. So that's a huge achievement. And I mean, Roma only on the up, right? I mean, Tammy Spinazzola back now.
Zaniolo.
Yeah,
A lot of young guys in there
Mkhitaryan.
too, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, and
Mkhitaryan,
then
not so young, but he's in there.
no, he's like probably like 32 now or something like that. But
Something like that, probably, yeah.
yeah, dangerous
and then
back
also-
in those Dortmund days. So
Yeah. Okay, so question when I was watching this, after the game was over, watching them give out the medals and whatnot, a lot of the Feyenoord players, got their consolation medals or second place medals, and a couple of them took it off. And I'm curious to see what you think about that, of like taking off the second place medal and not being satisfied with it, and not being proud of it.
the way I think about it is I've seen a lot of other players talk about this in various sports, right? Football, basketball, soccer. And oftentimes, the losers from a team, I hear them talk about throughout their career, at the end of their career, how they wish that they had celebrated even after a loss, just because they have to celebrate their whole season, how they got there, their whole journey. And oftentimes you hear about it, it's about the journey, not the destination. And for them to get so far, and yes, they came up short in the final, you have to be proud about how you
They
played.
played better, honestly. I think they played better even.
Yeah,
Roma.
and Rui Patricio, you were talking about, came up with huge saves.
Right.
So, I mean, as a player, it's definitely tough to lose, but I would probably keep my medal on and, hang my head high, be proud of the team. You played your hearts out, at the end of the day.
And I agree. I mean, like, there was something to be said about, not being satisfied and wanting to fight more. But I'm only asking that just because, I can see in some situations we'll get to the Champions League later, but if Real Madrid loses, they're Champions League winners consistently. So, they're not going to be satisfied with second place. They can still be proud of it. But for instance, I was watching this and I was like, okay, this is the first Europa Conference League ever. It's pretty cool to be involved in that. And I hope that those players are proud of getting second place, because I think that is quite an achievement, and especially for their team coming up as kind of underdogs in a lot of these different knockout rounds. I think they got a lot to be proud for, so I hope they aren't too hard on themselves. But all right, let's steer back. Let's go on those transfers. You want to start with Bayern or Chelsea? You pick.
I mean,
Let's go with
we can
Bayern.
just
There's been some
we can just go with Bayern.
activity over there.
yeah, we can talk. So we did a little Ajax hijack real quick.
Well,
We got Mazraoui on a free transfer, which is huge. We talked about this. I mean, we needed a right wing back. And Mazraoui is perfect. I think he's like 24 years old. He's explosive going forward. He's great at crossing the ball in, and I think he'll play very well with Bayern's intensity and how they like to play fast and very attacking style football. The only thing that I'm concerned about maybe is he's a little bit injury prone, is my understanding. But I mean, on a free transfer, fits right in. That's exactly what Bayern
pretty good
needed.
business. Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah, exactly. So, and then Gravenberch was announced today, 5-year deal, and
Dude,
we
20
got him
mil?
for 20 mil. Five
That's absurd.
$5 million bonus maybe, so it might go up to 25 million. But for a young, promising player, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable business by Bayern, I feel like. And he was wanted by a lot of the top clubs. So we talked about this a little bit today. He's going to be probably Bayern's third option at midfield behind Kimmich and Goretzka. So I assume he's going to get a lot of playing time.
Think about how all those injuries that occurred this year and how much you guys needed a CDM or someone just to be in there. That's like a huge signing, especially for that bargain. And he can, not that you necessarily need that backup right now, but for years to come, that's a great player to come in and maybe take over a starting role at some point,
I completely agree. And then the other point where my mind goes to is, Musiala, a lot of times when there were those injuries, he's playing center mid, which really isn't his position. He's more of a cam or a winger, and now with Gravenberch coming in, he's able to play at those positions that really is his preferred position. So I'm super excited about that. Obviously, there's still the Lewandowski rumors. I know the La Liga chief or president talked about how he doesn't think that Barcelona can even afford Lewandowski. But obviously, Barcelona think otherwise. I mean, they think they can afford anyone.
Money's coming from somewhere, yeah. I mean, they'll probably sell Memphis Depay. They're not going to sign Adama Traore. I don't know what other players they have to sell, though. They're not going to sell some of their young big stars. I don't know if Frankie de Jong goes out. He could be on the outs as well. That's a pretty big asset they have that they could sell. From Barca's perspective, I think them losing Frankie de Jong has a bigger impact on the team than Lewandowski coming in does, just because they already have all these attackers. And their midfield is kind of, not that it's weak, but they need those players in there. They need Frankie de Jong. So I would be surprised if they sold him to get Lewandowski. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is. It's such a difficult position a lot of times because after the season, right, there's all this contract talk, players fighting for playing time, and how are you gonna decide between Busquets, Pedri, Gavi, who's gonna get playing time, who's not gonna get playing time, who's leaving, who's on the outs, who are they bringing in, and it can get messy. It can get messy. Agents want their players to get a certain amount of playing time, right? And players do too. Another thing Bayern has still been struggling with is Serge Gnabry. I think he might be on the outs. I mean, Bayern have given him numerous offers, and I think the most recent offer they gave him, they said they're not going to go any higher than that. And Serge is a German international. He's been a great player for us for the last 3-4 years, top player, and I'd be sad to see him leave.
I can see being sad for him leaving since he is such a talent. From him, I can definitely see him being confident that he can get money elsewhere, especially with all these Premier League teams kind of undergoing these rebuilds or whatever you want to call them with United, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal. All these teams are really out for a big summer. So I can totally see him saying, okay, if I'm leaving on a free, I can get a huge contract at one of these other clubs.
I mean, I haven't seen anything about this, but I talked to my buddy about it, and Real Madrid really do need a right winger. Right now, they're playing with Valverde at right wing, but Valverde almost plays as another center mid defensively because they counter so often, right? And we've seen the emergence with Rodrigo now, but he's really playing as a super sub at this point, and the times where he does start in La Liga, he doesn't perform as well. And bringing in a Serge Gnabry, now that they didn't get Mbappe, they have the funds. And they would really only let a player like Lewandowski or Gnabry go if they have a replacement, and his replacement would be ideally Mane, right? That's what they're talking about right now, and he's kind of become a priority for Bayern.
I think Mane would be great. I guess I wasn't picturing him coming in and replacing Gnabry. I honestly was thinking about him coming in and replacing Lewandowski. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if both Lewa and Gnabry leave. I know there was talks about someone like Aller in there as well, so they can do the full Ajax sweep. So I think that'll be interesting. But I think Mane would be great. I mean, I think obviously he's a high-profile player, so that'd be a pretty big move for Bayern and a little bit unusual for them. That being said, though, that would be huge. I think he's obviously a proven player at Liverpool. I think he could easily fit in there. He's very direct and attacking, similar to Gnabry. And I think Mane's best facet is that he can play across that front line. He can play down the middle if they need him to. And that's really where Bayern excels, how their attack works with all this kind of fluidity throughout the team, with players overlapping, players folding into different areas of the field, is basically Sadio Mane. So I think that would be a really good move for Munich. And I also think for Mane, it could be good. Obviously, he's coming off of a phenomenal season with Liverpool, but I know there has always been thoughts of him leaving, or kind of rumors of him leaving. So I think it would be, for him, also could be a career swap, or kind of a career change, not swap fully, but I think that could be a pretty cool move all around, and I'm not against it at all.
With his contract coming up next year, Bayern can really get him at a lower transfer fee than probably he'd usually be worth. He's only 30, right? So he's like typically you'd think he's right in his prime, and Bayern, their starting point is like 30 mil is what they want to pay, but Liverpool is apparently demanding 50, which I still feel like is not that much for a player of his quality.
Yeah, for
50
1 year
million
left, I
for
can see that's
Mane,
the reason. But yeah, I
right?
agree. I mean, I agree. They can probably hold out, and if they
Um,
get it to 45, that's a steal.
exactly. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, we can move on to Chelsea. I mean, they have a lot of new things going
I
on right
know
now.
Chelsea's kind of ridiculous, honest or not ridiculous in a. I don't know if it is bad or good, but regardless, obviously the deal with Todd Bowley has been finalized by the UK government as of today, I believe. So finally, we can get that out of the way and start to move forward and start to sign some contracts. I know there's probably a long line in front of Todd Bowley's office with all these players wanting new contracts. I think Mason Mount is at the front of that line. He's still on his like very very. I don't know, not even they wouldn't call it like a rookie contract in soccer, but kind of along those lines. I think he makes like 65K a week or something, and back to back Chelsea Player of the Season. So he's definitely up for some more money, and I think he'll get it. I think Chelsea see him as kind of their future, so I think he's deserving of a pretty sizable upgrade. And then also we can talk about Chelsea transfers. I think it's kind of funny, and I talked about this last week, how Chelsea are kind of talking about this as a rebuild and not talking about it as just bolstering up the squad. But Thomas Tuchel has come out and said, "Oh no, this is not just strengthening up some areas of the field. This is a full rebuild." And I guess that kind of comes into play with yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous just the fact that their team is so stacked already, but I also think it's reasonable in the fact that they're losing their whole back line. So they kind of have to rebuild their back line to begin with. So, I mean, I don't know where the term rebuild and the term strengthen, where the differentiator is, but yeah, it's kind of funny just to think about it as a rebuild. So with that being said, obviously they're losing all these players, Azpilicueta potentially, Marcus Alonso now potentially as well, Rudiger obviously, Christensen obviously. So a lot of defenders on the out, and then it's likely that they'll sell or offload a couple of these struggling attackers, like potentially Pulisic or Hakim Ziyech. And then we also have the likes of Conor Gallagher already coming in, and Callum Hudson-Odoi, who we haven't seen for months. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, and so I can see it as a rebuild, and maybe not so much as like a rebuild just with the players they're buying, but I think just like the Chelsea ideology, moving away from the Abramovich era of, you know, buy these big headline players, buy the new coach, and just basically set them on fire and make sure that they get as many wins as possible in a year and a half. And if it doesn't work, start over. And so I think what Todd Bowley has talked about is really changing up that ideology and turning Chelsea into a much more well managed at the higher level, much more financially responsible with how they spend their money, and much more project driven, which I'm kind of excited for as a Chelsea fan. Obviously, I've liked this Abramovich era of kind of the high risk, high reward, but it's also hasn't over the past 4 or 5 seasons we haven't gotten any closer to Man City and Liverpool, and that's basically our goal. That's the benchmark. That's what we want to be at, and we're not getting there with this current approach. So I hope that this new project-oriented stuff where we buy players for Tuchel and we buy players to fit the mold, and maybe they're not 100 million, maybe they're 25 million, but they do what Tuchel needs them to do, which I think is a bigger impact. We see that with Lukaku coming in, and Tuchel hasn't been willing to change the way he runs his team for Lukaku. And so maybe that's bad on Tuchel, maybe that's bad on them buying Lukaku. But I'm kind of excited for this new era. I think it looks like Jules Koundé will be the first in the door. He can play, I think he's on the right side, so I think he would kind of fill in for where Azpilicueta is. I'm not sure if he go on the left, but we also do have Trevor Chalobah, so I can see him also being a consistent starter. So I don't know. There's a lot going on at Chelsea.
If I were a Chelsea fan, I'd be so excited, like you said. I mean, it's always so fun. I mean, it can be a little.
It's like the new season of FIFA career mode.
Yeah,
All
like
the money.
you really can start over. You know, you
Yeah.
can start over, and if you want to make changes, you can. And just being part of a rebuild is fun to watch as a fan because you can see it like almost happen from scratch. And obviously, they're not completely doing it from scratch, but they're definitely losing some players, and they're going to sell some players. It sounds
Yeah.
like, and Tuchel's alluding to that too. So they can get the players that they want, build the project that they want, and over the next year, 2, 3 years, we can see how the team develops and how they play together, and really hopefully formulate as a team. So I think that's going to be great. Jules Koundé, you talked about, is big. I wonder if there's going to be any, just as backups and maybe bench players, if there's any young academy defenders where they might bring up, because Chalobah was one of those, right?
Yeah, Chabo is one of them, but their kind of other big ones were Fikayo Tomori and Mark Gurhi, who they both sold last season. So those kind of guys would have been perfect for this situation. One player I did see coming back into the fold was Emerson Palmieri. He's obviously a wing back role, but honestly, he's great. I think he's a very good player. He played well under Tuchel before, and it seems like Tuchel likes him. He likes his versatility. So as far as wingbacks go, I don't know if we're going to buy another wingback. I think we have, Reece James and Chilwell as the starters, and then we have Palmieri, and I guess our other right back would, be like Callum Hudson-Odoi or someone else less defensive, just one of those wingers that Tuchel can put over there, which seems a little risky to me, so we maybe could use another right defender. But I think as far as like center backs, I'm not sure. We have Chalobah, who is obviously pretty good. Malang Sarr, I'm not sold on. Obviously, he's still young, but his composure is not there. There's a lot to learn there, but he's a bit rash, I would say, and I'm not sure his skill set really. So I think there's obviously pretty good cause to bring in some other defenders, and what I could see Chelsea doing is bringing in Jules Koundé. Okay, yeah, he's a sold-on starter, and then bring in another sold-on starter as well, because also Thiago Silva can't play every game, so he needs a backup as well. So I think we probably need 3 fresh defenders, and yeah, that's a lot of money. I don't know if they're all going to be consistent starters. Maybe we get a couple of backups, but hopefully, I think my hope is that they're all Tuchel agrees with all of them and kind of is on the same wavelength as all of them, so that they build for this project, that they're part of this team, that they are here for a purpose, not just because they're kind of a big name. That being said, I keep seeing these Neymar rumors, and that seems just like a big name to me. I think that's total BS. If I'm being honest, I don't think there's much truth in any of those rumors, but who knows? That would be a pretty big statement, marquee signing. He's played with Tuchel before, so I don't know. That seems a little bit.
Would you like that?
Not really, I don't think. I mean, obviously he's Neymar, but he's hurt all the time, first of all, and he's coming to the Premier League is a much more physical league than Ligue 1. And yeah, I don't know. To me, that seems just more like an impulse buy if that were to ever happen than an actual plan for the future. I would like to see someone a little bit more dynamic, maybe. Someone who would be here kind of for the future. So maybe a little bit of a younger age profile. And I also think it depends on, Tuchel has talked about him not wanting to change the formation. Obviously, they're playing this basically 3-4-2-1 formation right now, with those kind of dueling 10s having a lot of freedom. And Neymar is definitely a full-out wide player. And so if Chelsea were to switch and say, okay, we're going to play a 4-3-3, we're going to do what Liverpool does, we're going to do what Man City does, and kind of rock with a 4-3-3, then Neymar would make more sense. Because of the fact that Tuchel has said, no, I want to keep using this formation, I like having the wing-backs this high up the field, I like what Reece and Chilwell can do. Neymar seems like a terrible player. Or not terrible player, terrible fit for this team. That seems similarly to Lukaku.
I agree with that.
Big name, but does it fit the puzzle that we're trying to build here,
But a blue Neymar jersey would be pretty sick.
Yeah, that would be nice. It would be sick. I would love to see Neymar every week. That would be pretty dope. But is there meat behind it, or is it all for show? I'm not really sure. So I also
Yeah.
feel like that's
I
that's a
mean, going back
grab bag
to
rumor that could just be total fluff. So
well, now that there's a new owner of PSG named Mbappe, anything can happen,
that is
right?
true. He can boot him.
He can decide their
Exactly.
transfers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can boot him if he wants. If Neymar is giving him a hard time in practice, he's gone
See ya.
next day. Next day he's gone. But I mean, going back to defenders, obviously you have a certain amount of money that you can dish out. But because of that, it's going to be super exciting to see a lot of these younger players, or maybe more under the radar players. And Chelsea might find some, diamonds in the rough. Some players might just go on the scene and just like blow it up and be incredible players. And I think that's part of the excitement that comes with kind of rebuilding and building a project. So that's going to be exciting. And then obviously offensively, they're going to have to figure out, one, are they going to stick with that formation like you talked about? And two, who can really fit in and play those roles that Tuchel wants? And also, I mean, I guess with the new ownership now, are they all in on Tuchel? And if they are, I you probably know more than me, but if they are, like, how long is his leash? If they don't perform well next year, is his job immediately in peril? I would think no, because they're going through this rebuild, and hopefully it's a longer project, maybe 2 or 3 years. I think 3 years would be more likely, or I feel like 3 would be more likely.
But I'm not like,
I don't know. Do you know anything about
no,
that?
and I don't really know anything about that. I think we talked about this briefly last week on the pod, and Tommy was talking about Bowley and just kind of his thinking around sports in general and management, and it was much more project oriented, which I would think would give Tuchel a little bit of a longer leash. And not that I want Chelsea to do bad or anything like that, but I say this now when something bad hasn't happened, but I would be more willing to kind of put up with a bad season or two if it does put us in the Liverpool Man City category 3 years from now, because obviously they're dueling for the Premier League title head to head every season without really much competition, if we're being honest. Chelsea kind of comes out swinging at the start, but everyone's close at the start, you know what I mean? The difference is clear, and I think the way we get there is really forming a team, not forming a group of players. So I think that's hopefully what Bowley will bring in, a different approach than Abramovich. Because we think about players even this season, already Liverpool and Man City have made pretty tactical signings. Obviously, City splashed on Haaland, but they also brought Julian Alvarez, and Liverpool bought Fabio Carvalho. So these are young, talented players that they see for their future. They're not buying them to start. They're not buying them to replace any certain player. They're buying them to play these cup games, to play, the last 20 minutes of some games that they're ahead, maybe a big game here or there. But they're players for the future. And that's kind of what Chelsea needs. Obviously, Chelsea has a lot of players from the future from the academy, but they don't buy many players to kind of develop them behind the scenes and be ready for the next 3 years. And I think Tuchel has spoken about that and saying, okay, we need to work on our scouting. Our scouting is not there. We're not bringing in the talent that we need. And I think that's what he's talking about.
No, it's exciting. I mean, aside from Haaland, they're kind of these like low risk, high reward type players. They could just blow up. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say,
do you want to get into Mbappe?
Oh yeah, that wasn't even on my radar. So yeah, let's talk about that. Mr. Paris, the mayor of Paris. We've all seen the contract
Paris, yes.
now. 300 million euro signing bonus, 100 million a year for how long is the contract? 3 years, I believe. Absurd amounts of money.
Yeah, I think July 2025.
Absurd amount of money, but the bigger factors in this contract are the fact that he can approve or deny new signings, and we'll have like a seat on the board, or what's the rest of it?
Yeah, I think he can approve new signings, any sales of players as well.
That's
He has a
absurd,
say
dude.
in the coach. He has a say in the sporting director. He has 100% of his image rights. Um,
That's,
I
I
think
mean,
it's
they
just.
gave him a
I want to get
contract.
your
They
opinion on
gave
it.
him a contract that he cannot refuse. Obviously, people are saying, okay, yeah, he chose
Yes.
PSG for the money. From what I've heard, Real Madrid were offering him a very similar amount of money. And yes, he's making like an F ton of money, but he's probably the best player in the world, and, or if not now, will be amongst the best players in the world for the next five years at least. Probably more than that. So yes, he's making a bunch of money, but like that kind of makes sense. I think the more absurd part is the fact that PSG are literally giving away pieces of their club to this guy. And if
Yeah.
I was a manager, I'm sure Pochettino is like, what the hell is going on? You know, how, like, this guy, how am I supposed to run a team when my player has more power than me? I would be, as a manager coming in, I would be extremely kind of turned off by, or not turned off um, by like the power Mbappe holds at that club. It's absurd. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have been talking about like is it ruining football? Is it too much money or whatnot? Um, but I think it's just the absurdity comes from those powers that they've given him. It's very, I don't know, it's crazy in my opinion, honestly. I was not expecting that.
It's too much. I think it's too much. I mean, it's too much power to give to one player. I agree. Like, if a coach comes in, like I'm just thinking about Mbappe. If I do something wrong, if I sit him, if
Yeah.
something like is my job on the line, I could be gone. You know. So I think it's too much power to give to a player, and I understand Mbappe saying, I'm from France. Um, Obviously, it's Qatari ownership, and I know they made a bunch of calls constantly to Mbappe, and the World Cup is obviously later this year, and they said they couldn't stand to see Mbappe play in Qatar, not for their club, that they own. And Mbappe had constant communication with the president of France, some of the most powerful people in France. Um, and he really dragged this thing out. I mean, he milked every second of this. And it sounded like for a long time he was a lock to Madrid. I mean, last Wednesday he was
Yeah, past 5 years. It's crazy.
yeah, past 5 years. And with this decision, obviously he's going to be 25 or 26 when the contract's up, and he's going to be sitting on all this money. And at that time, he can really choose, most likely, barring any injuries or anything like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but he can most likely choose anywhere he wants to go at that point in his career. And he's made a boatload of money at that point. But I will say, I think he burned his bridge with Madrid. I think this is the last time, and I honestly think they've had enough, and
Yeah,
I feel like they feel
they shouldn't.
embarrassed that this happened. They feel
Yeah, they
used.
shouldn't go back. I mean, obviously, who knows? 3 years from now, maybe enough dust has settled. But yeah, they kind of got played and they got embarrassed, and he kind of spat in their faces. So I think it is within reason for them to say, okay, no more. We're not interested anymore. Um, that's more of a pride thing than anything, but it seems within bounds. Yeah, it's very strange, and I'm hoping that this isn't like an instigator for more contracts like that. Obviously, Mbappe is a special case because he does hold so much power just being the player that he is and being so good and so young at the same time. But yeah, it's a little over the top for me. For him, I can see why he did it. Um, so I don't know, a little bit out there, but I also don't think that helps PSG at all. I don't think that makes their team. Obviously, Mbappe is the best player on their team, but unless PSG do something else and actually form a team, I don't think they're going to get any closer to their Champions League. And actually, I've seen reports that the PSG fans are kind of fed up. They're saying, okay, signing these Galacticos, just giving out free money to the best player in the world at a given time is obviously not working. We need a plan. We need a team, and I'm not sure if anything will change, just given the fact that they're just kind of dumping money on the biggest players to try to grow a brand.
Yeah, it was
I would be mad if I was
it
a
was
PSG
kind of a
fan, honestly. If I was
controversial.
a PSG fan, and I wouldn't be mad that Mbappe stayed. I would be
Yeah,
mad at the things that PSG were willing to do to keep him.
yeah. It definitely is a little bit of a controversial move just to like after all this to stay back in Paris. And when you make the decision, it's hard to not consider like, okay, if I stay at PSG, like what are the ramifications? Like what are people gonna say? Like if I go to Madrid, what are people gonna say? And honestly, I don't think there would have been like um any type of like negative receptance if he had picked Madrid. You know, like we had been expecting this for such a long time. Madrid fans would have been overjoyed. PSG fans would have understood. Like this has been happening for 5, 6 years now. You know, they've been trying to sign him since he was at Monaco. Um, so I understand that, but yeah, I mean, choosing PSG, getting all this money, getting all this power, and then they're gonna be without a manager most likely this summer. They fired their sporting director, and Mbappe gets to choose both of those. And like, who is he gonna recruit? I mean, most likely people are saying Team France, right? Pogba, one of them. Ousmane Dembele, that's another option on the other side. I mean, it's like manager mode, but he's playing and he can pick his
Yeah,
team.
it is. I'm not like,
But
I mean,
yeah,
nothing against Mbappe, but he doesn't have the qualifications to be having a say in the sporting director. Like, that's not his expertise. His expertise is on the field. And unless he's been, studying up back a house and stuff I don't know about, just the fact that he is a player, he is so young, he hasn't kind of worked to get to that position. I would be also uncomfortable having him have such a big say without, seemingly the experience to do so.
yeah, and I don't think I would even want that responsibility as a player. I mean,
I mean, why not?
if I'm thinking about it, I want to just play.
Yeah, but
I would like to just play, focus on the game, make the team better.
yeah, but that's
I
that's
mean,
what
like
that's what
I
you're
don't want
saying
to have
before
to
you're
deal
presented
with
with this
all that other
contract.
stuff.
Everyone will say, "Oh yeah,
That's true.
like no, I'm just here to get better and to win trophies." But then they say, "Oh, but we're going to give you 300 million and make you part owner of PSG and king of France." Like
That's
fuck,
true.
fuck the
Yeah.
team.
I mean, it's you can't even turn it
Yeah,
down. You literally can't turn it down. But yeah, I mean, Madrid, they're dishing out their own money now. I mean, Chouameni
yeah,
confirmed.
dude.
What is it, eighty
Oh,
six
was it
million
actually? Oh, I didn't
dollars?
realize it was that much. Damn. Well, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
but
think
that's
86
still a
mil.
great signing. Kamavinga and Tchouameni, you got the best two CDMs for the next 10 years. So that's pretty sick. I think obviously they're working on their rebuild. They know Cruz, Modric, and Casemiro are getting up there. So if it's, Kamavinga, Tchouameni, and Valverde as a replacement,
Yeah,
that
Valverde.
seems like a pretty solid three moving forward. Speaking of Real Madrid, do you want to?
It's the
I
heirs.
know. Yeah, I mean that's a stellar replacements. Um, Speaking of, let's jump in and talk about the biggest game of the year coming this Saturday, Champions League final, Liverpool versus Real Madrid. Who you got? I'm starting with that. Let's start with the big question. Who do you think is going to win this game?
We've been talking about this for, I mean, since Champions League has been started, and I'm still going with Madrid. I mean, I was going with Madrid on the second tie after the City game was like 4-3 or whatever. Went with Madrid. I'm still riding with Madrid. I mean, the their team spirit, I feel like, is different, especially in the Champions League. They just play differently in the Champions League. They have the mentality. Do I think they have the better team? No, I don't. I think Liverpool probably play better as a team. I think when they play well, they're more consistent than Madrid. They have better players. But in this tournament, the way things are going, I don't think Madrid is going to lose. I think they like literally refuse to lose in this tournament.
Yeah,
So I'm seeing
I
Madrid.
mean I've been taking Liverpool this whole time, and I don't want to like switch at last minute and say that oh yeah, change of heart or whatever. But and we'll see if I talk myself either way in before I say my answer. But I think I think one factor that comes into play here is the fact that Liverpool have been playing so many games. Real Madrid at this point has had significantly lighter calendar since the Champions League semifinals ended. They've just been playing their league matches, whereas Liverpool's been involved in the FA Cup as well as their league, but they've been kind of fighting tooth and nail in the league. They've needed every point possible. They've had to go up big every time. I'm sure Klopp has had to come up with a big speech every time, and that's draining. And so coming into the Champions League final after going through all of that, that's just one more thing that they have to do, and they have to mount themselves up for and really be confident in. And so I think that's asking a lot of these players. I think that's asking a lot of Klopp. Can they do it? Yes, of course they can. They're Liverpool. They're the best team in the world, I believe. Carlo Ancelotti is seemingly king of knockout stages, though, so I think that'll also be an interesting matchup. A notable absence will be Thiago, who is injured. He's obviously been crucial to Liverpool's midfield this year. And without him and with Casemiro being fit for the starting 11 and being in the squad, that's also a big discrepancy. That gives Madrid wholeheartedly the upper hand in the midfield. That's something that they didn't have, going against Man City, I didn't believe. So that's huge coming in against Liverpool with that locked down. Defensively, Liverpool's better in the center, worse on the outsides. Trent is obviously better going forward, not as good defensively, so I think he will struggle definitely against Vinicius. But
that's the matchup.
That's a crazy matchup, and I think that's what a lot of people.
The biggest matchup.
Yeah, and so I think everyone's saying, okay, yeah, that's Liverpool's weak point is Trent's defensiveness paired up against Vinny, who's just a machine. That being said, it's not like Danny Carvajal is fully capable these days of handling both Mohamed Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So I honestly think that argument goes both ways. I think that is kind of one key matchup, but I don't think it is, it kind of happens on all of these wings. Other than Andy Robertson, there's kind of a lot of fragility in some of these wing backs or outside defenders. So I think that is kind of interesting. I don't know, man. It's going to be like a crazy game because I think the matchups are so good. Yes, you have Benzema, but then you have Virgil van Dijk, best defender in the world versus most informed striker in the world. Like that's just like a key prime matchup. So I don't know. And then Liverpool going forward obviously have been good. They haven't been their best that they've been at this season. Mohamed Salah is not playing that well recently. He came off the bench against Wolves. He's been suffering from a bit of a knock. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll start. Sadio Mane has been playing very well. Luis Diaz has been playing decent. Thiago Jota not playing so well. So there's kind of a lot of different areas. That being said, I think, I don't know, it's a coin flip, honestly.
You gotta say something.
I'm going Liverpool. I want Real Madrid to win because I kind of like, as awkward as it is to say, the story or Cinderella story of Real Madrid, it kind of is that way. And I think like every other match, the opponent should win. Liverpool should win this game. Whether Real Madrid will let that happen is kind of to be determined, and that's the bigger question. But Liverpool should win this game. They should go in confident. They should put this game away. They have the better team all around, so they should win this game. And I'm very clearly not saying I believe they're going to win, but Liverpool should win this game, 110%. I don't know what's going to happen though. I don't know what my guess is.
It's crazy to think. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that this could be arguably Real Madrid's best Champions League season ever if they win this, with arguably one of their worst teams that has gotten actually this far. I mean, when they did the 3 in a row with Ronaldo, I mean, that team was nasty. Like, they were the favorites, oftentimes. But yeah, I mean, I think we're really in for such a good game. I'm curious to see if there's going to be any changes in the lineup. Obviously, Thiago most likely not going to play, but if there's going to be any differences in either squad. I assume Rodrigo. I mean, there's no way he's.
He shouldn't start, dude. He has to come on.
Understand.
He has to come on in the 70th minute.
He has super sub. Keep Valverde at right, and I think they need Valverde as that extra mid just to defend, and then they can counter.
Right, and then they bring on Gareth Bale. 80th minute, kick. Bring on G Bale. Last game for Real Madrid, he strikes it and puts him to bed. That's what we
Hey,
did.
I want to see Hazard. I want to see Hazard in there.
Obviously, Chelsea fan, love him. He should not be playing in this game. Definitely not. Gareth Bale, yes, that would make sense.
Yes.
I've been seeing clips of Gareth Bale in training. But ridiculous. The guy's still got it. He's just cocky. So,
we see it for when he plays for Wales. We see the talent. He like scores 2 goals. He scores another goal the next game. I mean, like, it's no question of like, is he still capable of doing it? Like, he's obviously capable. It's just he's kind of on the outs with the team, you know. And
I would love to see him coming on. That would be so fun.
If he
Jurgen Klopp's shivering.
League, I mean, like,
yeah, that'd be sick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I hope he makes an appearance. Honestly, that'd be pretty cool. I think Rodrigo's got to come on at some point. I don't know if he gets the start or not. I don't think he should, just because I do think Liverpool wants to soak up that pressure. But, you know, I mean, he could also easily start, and then maybe you do bring on Gareth Bale at right wing. I don't know. That'll be kind of an interesting spot to see if Rodrigo does start. Other than that, I think we kind of can expect or predict these lineups. I think they're pretty much two teams that tend to put out the same 11 every game. And I think we can kind of expect that same thing to happen this weekend.
Oh, yeah. God, I'm so excited for
what a way to finish the season.
Chillin'.
All right. Well, I think we will have to put a pin in it there. Thank you all for watching on YouTube or those of you listening on Spotify. Our upload schedule will likely not be as consistent over the summer with less football being played, but we're going to put in a lot of work behind the scenes to have a killer season 2. So thank you all of you who have been here with us from the start, or anyone who's joined along the way. We really do appreciate all your support, and we will see you sometime soon.